settlement of both Māori and Pākehā. It was the first settlement.
Before Pākehā it was Māori.
Yes.
After Pākehā, post constabulary and settlement here, it was Māori settlement still ongoing. That's now the Opepe Farm Trust. And
Wow, so that's what has become.
just a brief period where they cut a few trees.
It says nothing of the township. It just says, talks about the eruption and it talks about cutting down the trees. But where does it say?
These whole brambles and things that Department of Conservation doesn't get carried away and remove any of the exotics, because some of them are historic, you know, from the European period.
Yeah, would they have planted fruit trees and things around here or not?
Oh yes, fruit trees. And,
So where we are is basically where there used to be a number of house sites.
yes, but there were dozens and dozens of huts. Had some cut into the banks for the young constabulary. Each soldier seemed to have had his own little bivouac and fireplace.
And prior to the armed constabulary being here, whereabouts was the Māori village? Where were
The
the
oldest
Māoris?
village was the just the other side, the southern side of the graves, the Opepe graves.
So that's where the papakainga for the Māori people were. So there was a bit of separation between their papakainga and this one.
Yeah, by 80. Now this came by default with the European impact, but the old Maori village in old settlement was about, another settlement was little copse of native trees, was about a mile further south. And I've got the Maori names of the various places, settlements that were once around here, but the one here, the oldest one, was still very much in occupation by, in the 1850s, 60s, 1860s particularly. And the people from here were also relating directly to Hapu to Nukuhau and here.
So can you just point out for me, Perry, whereabouts the original redoubt was?
Yes, not only that, but facing that, that's the Stockade. That's the banks and that of the Stockade.
Can we have a little explore in there? And because there's some features in there that are quite interesting.
And it was just about banks around, Stockade, banks around, not very big, and overlooking the main street that's there on this side.
So was the original Stockade on the other side of the road, where we're closer to the Māori village?
The main stagecoach road was on this side. The modern road is behind us where we come from. That's completely new, artificial.
Yes.
Historic road, followed the natural gullies and that, and went through right through to Taupo.
I'll just get some footage of that historic road, because you can.
And you're walking over toward where the old hotel site was.
Really, over here? So this is. That's
where you got the well. That's where you got the big pumice well in the gully.
So down here where we're looking at, into this gully, whereabouts was the hotel in relation to where we are now?
If this is the main road, Stagecoach Road, the hotel was just up on the left side.
Wow.
And then they had the big pumice well.
So potentially all up and down here there are the remains of old whare, sites
houses
and
and that. The smaller quarry, the hut sites on both sides
Yes.
of the gully were just basically dug in pumice in the banks, inside the sides of banks.
And apart from those kind of footings, there's no other evidence that they've been here, or is there's still bits of rotten timber and...
There was more evidence, but in recent years the chance of grassing things, modify things for mowing and that, quite a bit have been bladed and misplaced or displaced. See, even the pine wilding over there, you'll probably find a couple of still the remains of a couple of the soldiers' huts. They're only, well, like the early Morifori, they're only about 2 by 3 metres square. They tend to be dug in the banks rather than where they camped or had tents in the open paddocks. It can get pretty cold here in the winter.
Yeah.
The Runanga redoubts particularly had the same sort of thing. The soldiers were digging hard into the banks for a bit of insulation. Now the redoubt itself would come here and squares off here. Well, not quite a rectangle. Cast your eye around to see the outposts, the earthwork around, and this ideally should be cleared, you know, because you've lost the integrity of the features here. You could define how far it goes, and it just suddenly drops down onto the grassy side. Native regen.
I thought we saw posts in here last time. Or was my imagination? It was just
Well, I think in here
I can see posts right here. But those are fence posts. There's one right here. What lines there? That's the fence.
Yeah, we can see it. It's okay.
and I think in here they had the powder pit as well, and the gunpowder pit. And that was dug in. And when they abandoned this place, they didn't bother carting all their shovels for the road making and that. All the shovels had military marks on them, stamps on them, so no one, European or Maori, would nick them. And they had 99 shovels, and they say they threw them all in the gun pit and they covered them over.
So
and it was photos of that, and a beautiful example of that was with the military markings, was at the museum. That should all be displayed as part of the photo on that.
And where is the gun pit?
It was might be about standing on it, but I know because under John Mitchell, the Historic Places Trust Excavation Authority, I spent a day excavating it while he was up at the Runanga. So my report for that is there. And
so you found them?
no, we just beat the metal detectors. We had fossicas running between here and Runanga from Hawke's Bay, and they're the ones that took every other took all the totra posts from the main street for carving down Hawke's Bay. Didn't matter that it was a reserve or anything.
They were just good bits of wood.
Well, it's the same 1950s. Fossicas just ransacked everything they could, whether it was Maori land, Europe, or any other land.
It was
all open, and we didn't have any real laws, and any laws they had no teeth in them. But still politically correct today, laws are still very light on destroying places.
Yes.
If you're subdivided anyway.
Yes. And once it's done, it's done.
And once
there's
it's
no
done.
undoing it again.
Yes.
Only has to be done once.
So,
Geez, you've been fighting a rearguard action all your life, really, haven't you?
well, it's
Stop things happening.
well, it's my run-in after that with the council that I managed to wrestle this off and put it into the Meadow Reserve. Now Doc's inherited. So,
How do you find working with the Department of Conservation?
Well, obviously they're not contacting me nowadays for anything, and they say there's nothing. And if they want to only know that there's nothing and no responsibility, it's saving them work and grief, isn't it?
That's what I discovered with them, is that they want to stay in a state of ignorance because
Oh,
it means that the least they know, the least they'll have to do. Yeah, so these are all edible, eh? You know,
They're all edible.
They're
They're a bit getting into the prongs and that coming up.
they are.
too early, but they're like peanut buttery in the taste, like an almond. So where does it lead to down here, Pierre? We didn't go down here last time.
Oh, that's the main street. We could sort of suss out where that well is,
That'd be nice.
and then we can.
I believe they hadn't even made all the Pacific Town. This is the first town. 30 people.
See, they didn't. They showed you something in a museum, but they're taking most of the sprays down.
That was very sad, actually, to see what was in the museum, considering you knew where
And you
objects
and you tell me
had come from.
Don't make ways with the
Be
nice people.
Be
in there.
nice to the people in the library.
But that, even the people in the library, they know nothing. They do know nothing. It's quite disappointing, really, because they're being paid to be knowledgeable, and yet they're all in the dark as well. And that is the English lady at the desk telling us about welcoming us to our local marae. Fascinating.
I think up here, see all these are artificial features that you got off the sides here. And there were a couple of hut sites in these.
So what do you think little homes would have been put in their little huts?
Oh, that's just for the army, just about 2 metre by 3 metre squares with a bit of a shelter and a place for a fire. See in there?
What's that? Oh, that's man-made. That's looks like it's a bit of concrete.
It's all artificial, all dug in.
Oh my
They
god!
would have had.
Oh my god!
They would have had the. No, it's not, unfortunately. But
So is that concreted, or has it just been?
all dug in.
So is it like?
See this little level. When I say about 2 by 3 level,
Yes.
multiply that about 20 others around here, and these were.
So this is a fireplace.
Mm,
Look, there's a flue up here.
yes. As I say, they insulated themselves in the banks and that.
Wow.
But who knows what of anything. See the loss of education, information, signage. You could take a group.
What a greater way to make a chimney.
That's right. And they did the same at the Runanga. I've been everywhere with the knowing.
This is amazing.
Take some photos, Jeffrey.
See how a whole group of people, historic societies, archaeologists, all walk past these things, and they only go to a trough or something.
Oh my goodness. Have a look. How, this is a hut. We're actually sitting in an old hut at the moment, and this is its chimney. Its fireplace, made out of the bank of the. And it goes. Look at all of that. Just been chipped away at. Oh look, there's been a little fire hole in here. But look, the camera in up here.
Now, can you put it in?
Good. Check that out. Goes all the way up, and you can see the sunlight up the top. I'll just Get that camera up a bit more. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. There's the flue. It's about 3 metres, maybe 4 metres up. Fantastic. Dug in to the bank.
So you see with the boards and bit of roofing, often they just used corrugated roofing. They had their fireplace and
Fantastic. That's a great place for fireplace. So they would have drawn up there and kept dry here. Wow. That's amazing.
that's the trouble with me, I'm too distracting, aren't I?
It's being able to go off the beaten track where you learn the most.
That's
about a place.
another one there. See it side by side?
Wow.
Side by side.
Can you
by
see
side.
it, Perry?
Hmm?
Can you see?
Yes, I can see where it's been
There's a complete
carved out.
separate level here, and there's another one over here.
I wonder if there's got a chimney too. They've all got chimneys.
When we were younger, they had some of the blocks still in place. They squared off the blocks and that, having fireplaces.
That was cool.
Look, they're making a joke they're going to call History of Opepe, Department of Conservation. John Gibson knows. No one's contacted me. One person who's doing the possum eradication said, oh, they're contacting you. I said they won't. They'll put out this joke of a book, get misinformation or Clayton's report out of it, and more government official things, and say, aren't we clever? We're informing the people, educating them.
Oh, we don't know what we don't know. Hey, that's the thing.
So the Pākehā world, ignorance and misinformation. It's not as if anyone hasn't had my reports, my layouts and everything. And same with Murrayland and the values there. It's
Are we going down to Stagecoach Road?
We're just about on it.
Well, Stagecoach Road here.
Watch out for the horses. So all along here there are likely to be little huts as well.
Oh, both sides. I know much of everything. Some have had the fossicas in for all bottles and things. But, this is Main Street.
So this is the main street
And,
of the original
Opepe.
Opepe.
Overlook up there.
So this would have just been a pumice road at one stage, a
Oh,
big wide.
everything was just formed, good enough for the stagecoaches.
Wow, this would be old.
These are more modern posts, so
Yes.
the carvers weren't interested in anything that was food.
No, it's just channelized pine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's right to cut down all the trees anymore on their carvers.
So initially to build the towns, and they didn't have any exotics, that's all they had. here be us.
What's on the bottom of that well?
Probably just the odd can.
No, I can see a piece of concrete with a sign on it. A piece of...
Well, they dig down. When Trevor Hosking got a permit in the 70s to look for bottles, claimed he didn't find anything. And the amount of stuff after that, he threatened no one go anywhere near him, he'd be fined $1,000. And then he said he found nothing. And when I went with the ranger, we found piles of stuff, including cracked dishes and everything else that he'd dug, hadn't noted, and he'd discarded. But so that was your well site.
Well.
So this would have just filled up with water?
I just caught run off some water, and then I just
How would they have sealed it to stop it leaking through?
oh, I don't think they did. They just got a ground base and just relied on the
You must have just hammered it or compacted it, something, because our earth is very porous. I'd love to know where that concrete thing is down there. Concrete block, what's that being put for? Looks like it's got something inlaid on it, or is it painted?
that was probably done and thrown in after they probably backfilled a bit.
Yes, because there's a lot of, it would have been much deeper than that in the
Oh
old days.
yes, I remember it a lot deeper than that. Probably about 4 metres
Wow.
deep.
So it's almost completely filled in there. Maybe about 3 meters.
Anyway, apart from old historic photos, I found I've got a great black and white photo of it. But it could have been ideally, it was because it was flat, it could have even been, say, on a museum on that blank wall with a description.
I mean, it's like our heritage is rotting around us and we don't even know it.
What was the particle? What was the containers for? There's no information.
Yeah, no
of
context
the
given.
ABC.
Yeah.
So teachers, school children, nothing. They
Can't make the connection.
can't make the connection.
Yeah. Everything sits in a context, that is art, agriculture, housing.
And the value of the context of that container is carved off the spirals behind it. And not even the context found where it was found.
Yeah.
Nothing. You may as well gather rocks on the beach and display them and say a rock, another rock.
Exactly. I could have made those. In fact, I've got ones at home that look eerily similar, but yeah, without the context of where it was found and when, and it's almost meaningless. Well, it certainly doesn't have the weight.
Plantain. Kupa.
In the old days, where I used to carve these, something like this, I would put down there and then carve it, and then I'd sell it to outrageous prices. That became unfulfilling.
Oh, that's so stunning. That's so stunning. Okay. Nice and quiet. Wow, it's a big one. Still wet. That's good.
Probably walk through it today at dusk or at night and I have glowworms and quite a few of these mossy banks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's something there's not a grotto of that is known, a glowworm grotto around these parts. So how do you keep your bearings when you're wandering through the bush in places where there's no paths or anything? Do you just keep an eye on the sun, or
The same when I was 4 years old.
Good.
A 4-year-old, I was wandering this sort of bush.
so you just got a good
Just by
compass?
myself. I had to sense
Where were
in
your
some
parents?
events. Well, mother never knew where I was. My father never saw him until he came home from work in the evening, and didn't see another child or anyone for 6 months. So I just had the bush and the owls and nature. I knew if I went up a stream, if I threw a leaf in, I'd just follow it downstream where I came. Easy. It worked out as a 4-year-old. Now, some kids, 8, 9-year-olds, go missing for about an hour off a farm, and there's all alert emergencies and search and rescues and great old panic. A very wet time, and so the pit sawers standing there getting wet, and so they cut from the end of the saw pit an outlet to drain the water from. As to say, it's the only such feature of any saw pit I know of.
So do you know if they needed water for the saws to spin and cut?
No, they didn't
No?
have that type of saw.
No.
They had a 2-handle saw. It was just sharpened. Didn't need e-liquid when they were cutting the timber raw. It just gave them the traction and what they needed.
So did you say last time we were here that this came from this huge log you had brought in?
Yeah, they're right by the highway.
Yes.
And they got a crane to swing and lift it over. I had that worked out, defining where to go in. I had it marked where they could come in, and this got lifted over and dropped on. Now because the fossicers had taken the pit sawn timber post lines, people from Napier, for carving, the only way we could get something similar to replace it was the old Whaitaima. That was the corners, the 40 corners along past Whaitaima from the old road to Turangi, and so we got those from there, and to get a suitable log, this had to come down from our Kuratau end.
Kuratau, that's right.
So that was trucked up here, then a crane came and swung it over. We had these posts and poles, and the old days there'd be man on top, man bottom, two-handle saw, and they just laboriously saw it into sections to be able to be moved and carted out. And they'd only put a saw pit where there'd be very huge tree or trees that they could fell and not even attempt to drag them out. They sawed them on site. It was hard work in those days between axe and saw. So it's so everything here has been nicely recreated, and as I say, the end there must have been very wet, and the very end there they got the drain to let the water out. So for the
Hey, we haven't got a seat.
Is it Perry's Pai Pai?
That's another Perry Pai Pai.
in those days, then survey didn't carve names on.
What kind of tree is this?
That's a totara.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure that's a totara. Wasn't a remu or that, we could have got those. And,
Oh, it's amazing carvers haven't come in here with a portable mill and cut it out.
So you had this built after that was settled in here?
no, this was all. This is just a follow-up.
It's a recreation.
It was the track. This is just for people. This is for tourists and that, and children. As a physical barrier, and you see a roof over. But for that waka, they call the waka in the museum. Could I get the most legal protection when it was built in no. And when they let it deteriorate that it looks old, they then made a big to-do.
Yes.
And raised the roof of the museum, great ceremony, blessing Historic Places Trust, who were completely ignorant, only advised by a local Maori. It was an ancient canoe, when earlier their own parents said it wasn't. This is the ego. You get people just have a free feed and a bit of ceremony and get themselves a bit of film. So with this is all built over. Just to keep it in sight, which treats that as part of your industrial heritage, timber industry, historic heritage. There's
You don't get a sense from the museum of this, hey, when you're in the museum.
they've got a little tiny sword displayed with no context or anything.
They're just curios, really, aren't they? Without.
Look, the people that are doing it, the people remove the things, remove the labels, doing things now. I could educate primary school children to have more sense of purpose and genuine inquiry to what we're ending up very rapidly.
Yeah, that museum is a shell.
Each time I go, there's less and less and less.
Yeah. It's almost like it's a fun fair, or they got to make it out to be like a fairground attraction or something.
And every time I go in, they always have the main section for the arty people. It's always closed public, closed for
gallery.
this and that. That all that side. It's
Yes.
always got a closed sign. So you haven't even got any contemporary or ongoing paintings for that to access.
They're putting them in the big funny tour room. There were more paintings in there than there were artifacts.
And most of those paintings were just bogus,
Yes.
late caricatures.
It wasn't even good art. Good painting.
I've got an original oil. It's not big, but it's an original from 1870. And they were just as I say. But
No, this is the museum for me, right where I am.
and I wanted to show you something of the Opepe display. It's only about a third now to when I last saw it.
So the very institution that could be upholding and promoting our past is actually responsible for hiding it, or
When I put the Taupo Museum's first exhibition, which they've no record of, no photos of any, nevertheless I got front page write-ups about it in the Taupo Times, and me shaking hands with Clem Curry, who was mayor at the time. So you can't hide the things from the media, what's once is in print. They cover that. But that's when I did more for the timber industry, fishing, and all early Maori culture and artefacts in display. And you've got there now.
you don't see any nets, you don't see any of those old things, any goods, any.